The Cult of Domesticity is a weekly podcast created by two best friends who share a love of history,
true crime,
literature,
somewhat current events,
and everything else in between.
Join us every Thursday as we cover things that interest us and hopefully you too.
You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and most other podcast listening apps.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and we cannot wait to hear from you.
Bye.
Bye.
Question: what are Infinity Stones? A whole lot of information and ideas and what I like to call little clues speckled around the place. And who is the man in the purple chair? He's purple. It's a magic glove. Doesn't like standing up.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Previously on Invasion of the Remake, Sam Stepanenko was having trouble with the law. Will this mystery be solved?
Yeah, it was me.
I'm Sam Stepanenko, and welcome to Invasion of the Remake. I am no longer the host of Invasion of the Remake. We are going to be turning the reins back over to Jason Bishop, and this is the perfect week to do it because we're talking about comic book stuff.
My bread and butter. I took care of those stop issues that you've been having, the pullovers from the police. Sam took my offer to make that all go away so I could get my hosting job back.
And you're welcome to it.
My heel position as the host of Invasion of the Remake. So, yay, Jason's back in the big chair.
At least you're happy about it.
Until I lose the next Oscars.
We'll see. I will not be intimidated.
Jade, let's face it, you're never putting it up as prize again, I'm going to bet.
You are correct, sir.
Damn it.
Sam Stepanenko and Trish Cocklin.
Hey.
All right, so how did I make Sam's woes go away with my special guest this week to talk about all things Marvel? Welcome back, Carlos, from our RoboCop episode.
Hey, everyone. Glad to be here, purely by coincidence, based on the hosting duty switch.
It was totally coincidental, absolutely.
Why do I not believe that? Carlos had so much fun, you actually bribed him to come back.
I would
Or he
never...
bribed you to come back. Between the two of you, you conspired.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I have no idea. These are baseless allegations, clearly.
Trish, you got to back me up. They conspired, didn't they?
I'm thinking there is a conspiracy, but I don't know. We'll investigate this, you and me.
Maybe we will. You know what? I'm not going to investigate that much because
it's going to be our serial podcast.
It could be, yes, it could be a serial podcast. But yeah, we don't have Jay to do like the hard stuff, so no.
Oh,
because Jay does do the hard stuff, and no, in all honesty, I am happy to return the reins back to him because he is really good at what he does. I've said this every episode, as not sucking up is the truth.
All right, well, I guess I don't have to be the heel host anymore because I can be the host with the most all the time now.
Beetlejuice?
I don't know where I was going with that. We're not remaking Beetlejuice, but we are going to have a nice open conversation about the road to Infinity War. Now, actually, this episode's actually going to drop a couple days after Infinity War shows up in the theaters, but Trish and I have been enjoying Comic-Con here in Calgary Expo, so...
Seemed timely,
and Carlos wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, I've been planting those seeds for a while now.
He's like, do it. Okay.
Conspiracy.
You need to. You don't have to push that hard to get me to talk about comics because I actually manage a comic book shop here in Calgary called Words and Pictures. Come visit me, except during Calgary Expo because I won't be there. But yeah, so this is one of my favorite subjects, and ironically, I've seen everything except for Black Panther, the one movie that everybody in the world has seen at this point. I have not seen.
Yeah, we haven't seen Infinity War yet either, because we're recording this just a few days before it comes out. But
here's hoping maybe by the time this episode lands, we will have seen Black Panther.
Maybe.
Life has just gotten in the way. It's not that we don't want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, Black Panther has been in the theater so long that it might still be there when Infinity War opens up. So,
well, there's talks of double features for the two of them. And, yeah, I have seen Black Panther, however. So
good. At least we have one informed opinion on that one.
Yeah, I don't have to guess.
Yay! But double feature, damn, totally in.
So yeah, we're going to talk about the Marvel movies. Maybe not some of them in great depth. We're going to focus on the ones that have kind of forwarded the story, getting to Infinity War, what we might think will happen post Infinity War, what we already know, what we don't know, and the knowledge we already have from the comic books, which might just be me.
A little bit from me as well. Infinity War was right around the time that I was kind of getting out of the superhero comic books and into the more interesting, to me, comic books like Hellblazer and
Vertigo stuff, the Mercury Reader stuff.
And yeah, martial law, which I really want to talk about at some point in the not too distant future.
I just reread it maybe 6-7 months ago, so it's somewhat fresh in my mind, but not...
Yeah, it's a 90s story, so it probably hasn't aged as well as my memory of it does. But I remember reading it a couple of times, and the first 3 issues were drawn by my favorite artist of all time, George Perez. And this movie is going to be based on the Infinity Gauntlet. Not the comic book that came after. The sequel to Infinity Gauntlet was Infinity War, but the Infinity War movie is based on Gauntlet. Got it?
Yes.
Good?
Okay, yes.
Okay, good. All right.
Because I remember I went back to read the wiki on Infinity War. I'm like, this isn't what they're doing for the movie. I know that for a fact.
In fact, because it's a 2-part movie, I suspect the majority of the first bit is going to be more akin to the prequel to Infinity Gauntlet called Thanos Quest and his search for the gems.
That's what I got from the I'm completely in the dark, but that's what I got from the trailer. Is that it's Thanos is showing up because he's looking for stuff.
Yeah, I mean in the movie continuity, they're the Infinity Stones, and in some cases they're not even stones. They've been introduced as other artifacts, and that all started with the Captain America movie.
With the Tesseract, yeah.
Yeah, with the Tesseract, better known as the Cosmic Cube in Captain America comic books, which was never a gem, by the way. But
no, well, and so much of what they're setting up is just the concepts, right?
Yeah, I don't think initially that was meant to be an Infinity Stone. That was part of the Captain America's continuity, right?
Yeah. So I think the first time where I saw something that I knew was an Infinity Stone was in the first Thor movie. That's the first time I went, oh, there's an Infinity Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, the first Thor movie actually had the gauntlet in Odin's
which we
armory.
Learned is fake by Ragnarok.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we took a different path with our story from that first Thor movie. Yeah. So
Odin's treasures.
Fake. Most of the stuff in here is fake. Weak. Smaller than I thought it would be. That's not bad.
But that was the first clue I had that they were already working towards the Infinity Gauntlet story.
Yeah,
was seeing that, and then I don't think I ever made the connection between the Tesseract and an Infinity Stone. Even then, I don't think I did.
No, I think I don't think
you're supposed to.
I don't know. I don't think it was. It was a case of we're making some decent movies, and then when they did the little Thanos tease at the end of Avengers, they're like, oh, wait a minute. We could do something here, and we can retcon these as objects that can change shape and their presentation,
absolutely.
Or have been contained their energy in such a way where us meager mortals can handle it.
Yeah, as they were forging new ground with the MCU, I'm not convinced that they thought that. I don't think anybody thought that they could conceivably be heading into this weekend with the Infinity Gauntlet being realized on the big screen in what's going to be one of the biggest movies of all time. And so once they saw what the resounding success was to the Avengers and the Easter egg at the end of it, they were all in, and good for them for recognizing that. And
and with Black Panther breaking box office records all over the place. I think it's sitting at number 3 North America now of all time, which is crazy to even think about. So the interest going in Infinity War is huge. The pre-sales are actually outpacing Black Panther, which means this could be the number 1 movie of all time if the box office holds from Black Panther.
Yeah, ironically, I think the only thing that'll hold it back from that will be competition within its own 2 wheelhouses of Deadpool from Marvel and then Solo, which Disney themselves are putting out.
And now this movie, like I said, we've said, this movie hasn't opened yet for us, so we have not seen it. But 76 characters floating around in this first of this 2-part movie, which is more that have been introduced in the movie so far. So there's got to be some conjecture that some of the TV characters are going to show up, and possibly characters we've never seen before.
You'll get characters that you haven't seen before, especially in the different cosmic realms that Thanos, I assume, will visit over the course of his... His... what are they called now? The Black Order?
The Black Order, yeah. Proxima Midnight and those guys. I think they're only bringing in 4 out of the 5 characters from the Black Order into the movie, though.
Yeah, I've tried
to... Black Swan's left out.
Yeah, I know Corvus Glaive is in it, and once they started getting revealed, I became a bit spoiler adverse, so that my youngest daughter having a moratorium on any kind of TV spots or anything like that has made me honest going into this.
Yeah. Okay, well, when I run the trailer at the end of this to get everybody excited for Infinity War, close your ears.
Yeah, close my ears and say, no.
But that still leaves a good 40 characters-ish that we haven't seen yet. Ultimately, that's a lot of characters that we've not seen.
For sure. I mean, we know one of the in-between movies between Avengers, the first part of this, of Infinity War, and the untitled sequel to it. It is a 2-part movie, so I guess it's going to, I don't know, we'll call it Infinity something, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's rumblings that it's Gauntlet, that it's going to be called Infinity Gauntlet. I don't know how much I believe that, but...
Right.
Well, why not? They did Civil War, which... came after the Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet, so why not do them in reverse order?
Yeah.
Civil War, Infinity War, and then Infinity Gauntlet. Does it make sense?
One could conceivably think that Captain Marvel will show up. Her movie's going to happen in the 90s, so she's going to be technically established in the present day. Yeah. So I would suspect she'll show up, but I guess that depends on how the 90s movie ends, or maybe she won't show up until the second film, which might make a little more sense to give you a chance to introduce the character.
Yeah, or she could be stuck in the middle of the Kree-Skrull War. Some of the things I've seen surrounding the Captain Marvel solo movie suggest that it's very much entrenched in that lore. So
yeah, and I've heard whispers that that might be setting up the Secret Invasion storyline that happened in the comics, where the Skrulls have infiltrated human society, and the Skrulls, for our listeners, are shape-changing green lizard-looking dudes.
Nice.
That have a very prominent presence in the Marvel Universe. Like they
specifically the Foxstone properties of Fantastic Four, which means we're moving a lot closer to those characters being absorbed into the MCU. I mean, I think Fantastic Four will probably get absorbed quicker than the X-Men will.
Well,
in this regard.
How many times have they tried doing that? They're desperate to make the Fantastic Four work, and I think as part of that,
a Marvel universe without Reed Richards and Ben Grimm just feels empty.
But as a standalone movie, they've not done well. So to absorb them into a different movie is probably definitely what they want to do.
Well, and that certainly benefited in rebooting Spider-Man and characters. We've seen people go to droves to shitty DC movies. I mean, not all of them have been shit, but you know.
But none of them have been really good either.
People really want to see these characters on screen, and
Wonder
done
Woman was
properly.
great.
Yeah.
And as we were saying, Justice League, not as bad as people would have thought it was.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's
one of the better ones.
It's a little empty in plot, but there's a lot that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was the Band-Aid that got ripped off.
Yeah, and we're going to start seeing up some other characters elevated into certain positions within Avengers, because we're going to soon have an MCU without Captain America, without Thor, possibly. We don't know where the contract, because all these contracts are expiring.
Yeah.
What's the other big one?
Oh, Iron Man.
Iron Man. Well, yeah, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. So your big three characters. Now, I mean, conceivably, Black Panther has been done so well that you now have your new leader to your Avengers there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's a few different ways they can go if they do in fact kill those characters off. They've positioned themselves perfectly for Bucky to take the mantle of Captain America, or if they just go full recast with those characters.
We already know Rhodey has been Iron Man.
And if you position
in the comic books, so
Black Panther and Shuri to be your Tony Stark and Spider-Man to kind of
if you want your smart guy, that's where you introduce Reed Richards, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with cosmic entities.
Well, and having seen Black Panther, spoiler for the rest of you, but they definitely set up characters in that movie to be the smartest person in Marvel's world kind of thing, and to supplant.
So it looks like they have got a lot of pieces already in place to make those changes if those contracts don't happen. And it looks like Chris Evans is probably out for sure.
Yeah,
I conceivably can see Hemsworth re-signing.
Yeah, he hasn't done much outside these movies, and what he has done is had limited success.
And I think Ragnarok reinvigorated his interest in playing the part.
And, Ragnarok reinvigorated any interest I had in Thor.
It didn't for me.
Absolutely.
And that's funny. We have some very seriously differing opinions about Ragnarok.
I hated that damn movie.
Well, I loved it. Like, it made me...
my worst... That was my most hated
The
Marvel
first
movie.
two Thors, I couldn't believe they gave this character his own movies. God damn, hated it. Hated.
Yeah,
I'm never going to get the Thor movie I want now.
I despise those two Thor movies.
I was a Taika Waititi fan going into Ragnarok, and the Thor movies were pretty vanilla for me.
I'm still
prior
a
to
fan
that,
of him, but I thought even Dark World was venturing on the line of comedy a little too heavy there. When they just threw it right over the edge, I'm like, I don't need this. I already got a comedy in Guardians, and it's a well balanced one. There was no balance in Ragnarok.
Well, it's just I couldn't see the whole time with the first two Thor movies. Just so dim. Couldn't see him being a hero. And at least in Ragnarok, he seemed to exhibit minor bits of intelligence.
Yeah, and his character in his standalone movies is quite different than he is in the Avengers movies, because he's quite balanced and he shows intelligence in the Avengers movies, but he doesn't so much in
his standalone.
He tends to be sort of stumbling through in his standalone movies a little bit.
Yeah, the thing I like that they did with Ragnarok is you can almost see that they recognize that he was kind of the poor sister franchise of their big three. And they're just like, you know what? Let's just completely send it in a different direction and see if people.
The one thing I do agree with, and that it should have always been this way, his movies should have never been on Earth.
Agreed.
And it's that really hampered the character a lot, I think. I kind of wanted Asgardian lore, as somebody who really likes mythology, I just wanted to embrace that and see wars on Asgard and the other 9 realms. I'm like, come on, this would be great.
Yeah, but to have a decent, to write Thor as a character you gave a crap about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, he seemed like godlike in powers, but not godlike in any other way. In the first couple of movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, Marvel was so skittish at the early parts of trying to, with these higher concept stuff that involved magic, when it was like technology or a chemically based character like Captain America, where it's basically an old steroid.
It's like the super steroid, actually.
A super steroid.
Yeah.
And then Tony Stark, who created his costume, he created his armor.
And the Hulk, who's also...
they're all very science-based, and they made him feel more like an alien rather than a god.
Yeah.
And they were really dancing around the mystical aspects of the character.
Well, they even say in the first Thor that it's not magic. They come right out and say, this is not magic, this is science.
Yeah, I come from, magic and science are the same. That was the dumbest line I ever heard.
And then Doctor Strange comes along and just like, fuck it.
Yeah, really.
So, I mean, I'm kind of glad that they just untied all that garbage. But
with Doctor Strange, it was sort of straddling that line. You've got to assign a character where his background is completely based on science, and then you get into the mystical realm. It's a way to enter it that way, and it makes you can get there. But with Thor, it's okay. No, he's just magic. Science and magic are the same thing. No, that's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, especially in retrospect, certainly the first couple Thor movies were the weaker of the bunch. I still enjoy them, and I would say I do enjoy them more than Ragnarok. But I took Ragnarok for what it was, just a fun ride.
Yeah, I mean, love it, or like me, not so love it. There's still elements I dug about it, but turning the most darkest, serious part of Asgardian lore into a joke, that wasn't so big for me.
I kind of think that's the crux of the whole thing. Like, I'm a big comic reader, but I don't read Thor, and I don't have a huge love for his character, so I could take that movie on face value. And
I have more attachment.
Yeah,
I guess.
Exactly, and it's just the way of these things, right? And I think part of Marvel's success is that there wasn't a lot of familiarity with their target demographic with these characters. Their apex had come kind of 70s, early 80s, and then there was their cultural exposure compared to the DC characters in Justice League. There was no comparison.
Yeah, I think the expectation of the audience that are enjoying these movies, I mean, yeah, it starts with the comic book fan, but at the end of the day, these characters are pretty malleable, and a lot of the audience going in aren't comic book readers anymore.
Absolutely.
Or not fans of that particular book, because I'm a great example. I'm never been a fan of Iron Man, but I love the Iron Man movies.
Yep.
Yeah, and I looking back at what they're doing these days, I almost wish they'd give him one more, because they're really
Feels a little loose-ended?
They feel kind of weak in comparison these days.
Yeah.
Well, that
I mean,
last
not that first one is a perfect movie, but 2 and 3 are pretty weak in comparison to what they've been doing
I'd say
lately.
first is good, not perfect, but first is good. Second is fine. Third is just a train wreck to me.
For introducing a character, I think that is a pretty perfect movie. Problem is, most of the first run Wave 1 stuff is kind of interchangeable plot-wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
The structure is very formula, and I'm glad when they did Wave 2 that they broke out of that mold, because I doubt these movies would still be going if they stuck with the formula.
No, that's very true.
Fans would be pissed off by now.
Yeah, it's funny. And see, Captain America was always my favorite Marvel character. So for me to move into that first movie was a make or break for me for Captain America. It had to be good, and fortunately, it was. They were very, very true to that character, and Chris Evans has been very true to the moral compass of that character as well.
And it isn't just that. Like, I felt of all the movies, the writing on the Captain America ones was just better overall. Like, I liked those movies better.
Yeah, well, I think just as a concept, you have a soldier and a patriot, right? So people can identify that with that more than they can Asgardian god guy or
some
Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, right? So I think that's why those movies are the strongest.
And somebody who started off like kind of very weak and then came into this great amount of power, and how he handles that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the moral compass of the Marvel Universe, and it's going to be really difficult to move on without the character, but...
Oh, and his struggle with coming to terms with being asleep for so many years.
And again, the success of those movies speak to how malleable these characters are, because he can be the superhero, he can be the war vet, he can do like a Jack Ryan intrigue, political intrigue kind of story. Like, there's so much you can do with the character, and they're all interesting on film.
Yes.
And it's also where we were introduced to the first Infinity Gem. Before we talk to that, I think I'm going to let an expert in Infinity Gems talk about what they are. Infinity Stones, I should say. We'll talk more about the road to Infinity War.
Oh, my new friends. Before creation itself, there were 6 singularities. Then the universe exploded into existence, and the remnants of these systems were forged into concentrated ingots. Infinity Stones. These stones, it seems, can only be brandished by beings of extraordinary strength. Observe. These carriers can use the stone to mow down entire civilizations like wheat in a field.
There's a little bee coming out of me right now.
Once for a moment, a group was able to share the energy amongst themselves, but even they were quickly destroyed by it. Beautiful.
fascinated, Whitey, but we'd like to get paid.
How would you like to get paid?
What do you think, fancy man? Units!
Very well, then.
All right. Thank you, Collector. Who is, I assume, still in possession of the orb.
Well, yeah, because he does appear briefly in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, he doesn't have the orb.
No, because they give it back?
No.
The Nova Corps has.
Nova Corps.
He has the, that red gooey stuff.
Oh, the ether.
The ether. The Aether.
Oh, okay.
Aether. But yeah, Captain America was the introduction of the Tesseract, which is the Space Stone.
I get that cosmic cube, space stone. I can see how they went there, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then part of this is where are they at the moment, because Thanos is coming.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's the one from Loki's staff.
That's right. I'll get there.
We'll get there, yeah.
We'll get there.
Okay. Because that was my question.
Yeah, no, the space stone is the Tesseract. That was, where did that one go? Who has that right now?
Yeah, that's
the one Loki has now. Because at the end of Ragnarok, he grabbed that. He must have saved the.
Well, didn't they?
That one.
They took it back
because they didn't want. They took the Asgardians took that for safekeeping.
Yeah.
They gave the Aether to the Collector because they didn't want two Infinity Stones so close together.
That's right.
Asgardians. It's an honor.
You know why we're here.
Of course. But if I may ask, why not keep it secure in your own vault?
The Tesseract is already on Asgard. It is not wise to keep two Infinity Stones so close together.
That's very wise.
We'll get there.
Okay. Because I have questions of all of them.
Yes, we'll get there.
You got any questions on this one?
Okay, so, I have kind of just an overall question. So you're saying, okay, there's the Aether and the Tesseract, and they're like quote unquote Infinity Stones. Like these are all just sort of objects. These are all related objects.
Yeah, so I think they'll be inside. Like the Space Stone will be in the one, and the Aether will either condense into the power gem or it's within it. Because it never really saw a solid
So it's
form.
really,
correct?
If they're sort of kind of together, will they change state? Is what you're saying?
That may be the case.
That's possible. Yeah. I don't think initially they were thinking this far ahead, but they're showing that they obviously can change forms, and in some cases are contained, like in the cube. But inside the cube is the gem, and just like the Eye of Agamotto, there's a gem inside of that.
Okay.
Or stone. I keep calling them gems. They're called stones in the movies, but they're gems in the comics.
Okay, well, yeah, I can see. Then I can see why you keep going gems.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, gems,
and I'm going to keep doing it, so just you guys at home.
It's interchangeable.
It's interchangeable.
Well, there's the word gemstone, so just go with that.
Then everybody's happy, right? Everybody's happy. And Avengers, that's where the Mind Stone was. That's the Mind Stone was given to Loki, which I don't know why Thanos would give him a stone if he's trying to collect them.
Because that way he knew where it was, theoretically. Loki's not the best choice for that kind of thing, though.
I mean, would you
its
maybe
containment unit is that scepter?
Yeah. Would you maybe say that the stone was given, like, if you're going to give it to somebody for safekeeping, and what safe enough, most other people can't get it, but to somebody weak enough, you could take it if you wanted to.
Sure, I suppose.
Yes,
yeah,
it's been a while since I watched that one. Do they actually say that Loki got his scepter from?
Well, they allude to it because because it was given to him, and we do know that that thing that gave it to him was working for Thanos at the time before he was killed later on.
Yeah. Okay.
So Loki originally had the scepter. The scepter was used by Hydra when they had it to create Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
And now currently resides in the Vision's brain pan.
Yes.
In the center of his head. I don't think that's going to go too well, especially if you guys seen the first trailer.
Yeah, it's just like the comics. I remember Vision always being dead or being repaired or having to...
And he never which is kind of fun because he always had something in the middle of his head as part of his costume, but I don't think they ever explained what it was, and it certainly wasn't an Infinity Gem. In the comics, the Infinity Gems were all held, at least while I was reading, were all held by the Elders of the Universe, except for, I think, the Soul Gem, which was on Warlock, Adam Warlock, who just got reintroduced in the films at the post-credit sequence of Guardians 2. So the Mind Gem is the only one that hasn't actually been introduced yet. So whether that was used in the creation of Warlock or if he's going to come into possession of it later, that's still a question. We don't know where the Mind Stone is yet, unless it's in Wakanda, because we did see a big battle there in the trailer.
Yeah, and they don't suggest that it's in Wakanda in any way, shape, or form. There's no Easter eggs in Black Panther that say that it's there in a concrete manner. There's a bunch of hot speculation that it's within the vibranium mound beneath Wakanda, but the movie doesn't actually say that. That's just kind of fan theory
I'm assuming that one of them finds their way over to Wakanda. Maybe Vision happens to be in Wakanda by the time Thanos shows up.
Yeah, I can see, because the Avengers will have 2 Infinity Stones within their protection, so they'll have the Vision and they'll have Loki's scepter, assuming that Loki's with Thor. So if they're
well, the scepter, the gem in the scepter is the one in Vision's head.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay.
But there's still Doctor Strange, so he's still on Earth as well.
There's still Doctor Strange, and in Ragnarok, Loki got a replacement stone for his scepter.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be the Infinity Gem then.
No, that's okay. That's what I thought. I was getting confused there myself. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that one is.
Maybe that's the Mind Stone.
We don't know.
Right in front of us.
He just needs another battery. Maybe it is. Who knows? Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, I would suspect that it's with Adam Warlock to kind of tie it a bit closer to the comics, because
he's a key character in the actual Infinity War.
Yeah,
it really is the central character almost.
Well, yeah, exactly. He ties so closely to Thanos' story that to not use Warlock just seems stupid.
Yeah, well, and the reality is that the movies...
He's a tough character to explain, though, to people.
Yeah, based on the trailers and the setup and everything else.
Me as a newbie, how about you try?
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, just go with that race that created him, because they're just ignoring the comics. And honestly, I don't know Warlock's background very well.
Okay.
That was a character that I always found confusing and baffling, so hopefully it'll make more sense in the movies. But he was created. He didn't have a typical birth. He was created and hatched out of that cocoon. Looked different in the comic books, but it had a very similar shape at the end of the Guardians. So
okay,
yeah, and he was never sort of one of their marquee characters either. He's always sort of been an ancillary character, supporting cast, except for the Infinity Wars, where he
fronted his own book several times, and you could say the same about Iron Man until he showed up in a movie. So
yeah, that's true.
A lot of these characters might seem like B-listers until they show up in a movie and the crowd likes them.
Sorry, Iron Man's never really been a B-lister to me.
Not to me either, but I wouldn't say he was in the public consciousness like Captain America was.
Yeah, but there's the magic four for me. There's Thor, Hulk, Captain America, and Iron Man are the ones that I always knew.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and it depends on when you're growing up, right? Because for me, it was Spider-Man and the X-Men were the only Marvel characters that you could find outside of a comic book store. Like those were the only ones who had shows or who had merchandise or things like that. And even like my oldest was born after the first Iron Man movie came out, and the only kind of Marvel toys for little kids were Spider-Man and Friends, I think was the line. And Iron Man never existed in that, and my partner at the time was a huge Iron Man fan, and I remember him paying copious amounts of money to get like this Target exclusive Iron Man Fisher-Price figure.
Oh my god.
For her kind of thing. So it goes to show, whereas now he'd be the gold standard character. He'd be the first one that they'd put into a toy line like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. So and see, and maybe I must be just a little bit older than you, because for me, like the ones that I remember are those four were the ones that were really popular when I was a kid, and especially in the early '80s when you had Spider-Man and friends, like Captain America always kind of guest starred, as did the Hulk and Iron Man were the sort of three key characters. Right?
See, I knew of the Hulk and Spider-Man. I didn't really know Iron Man. Captain America I was aware of, even though I never read the comics.
I mean, and then you had like Shazam again in the '70s. As a kid growing up in the '70s, you had the Shazam ISIS show, right? But that was DC, obviously. But
yeah, okay. If we're talking DC, Wonder Woman, absolutely. I had a costume for Halloween.
But certainly, Marvel hasn't had the same consistency as DC with their key characters sort of staying in the front and presence of everybody's minds, right? Like the Superman's always been there, Batman's always been.
Well, DC's got the advantage of like 30 years for most of their characters on them. Like their characters debuted in the late 30s and 40s, whereas most of the Marvel iconic characters debuted in the 60s. We've spent longer time as a society with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, you did have some that did debut in the 40s, but certainly had Captain America.
Captain America is one of them.
And Submariner and Human Torch, but not the Human Torch that everybody knows from Fantastic Four.
But the robot one did make a cameo in the Captain America first Avenger movie.
Yes, he did, which I really liked. Again, with Captain America being sort of my
And could that be
favorite.
A character that does show up?
Maybe.
Certainly. I mean, he's a robot.
I mean, you can get rid of him right away, too, because if you got Fantastic Four on the horizon...
Yeah, I think he'll stay in the realm of Easter eggs, so...
I think you're right, but, I mean, it's a possibility. It's just a really weak possibility.
I'd like to see it again. I would. I think that'd be a great way of introducing the Human Torch character without breaking any of the licensing.
I think certain characters will remain Easter eggs. Do I envision Howard the Duck on that battlefield? Not really.
No. Howard the Duck is going to be an Easter egg, but I just want another Easter egg of Howard the Duck.
So the Reality Stone, that one premiered in Thor Dark World as the Aether. And that one... I think that one's a mind bender, but it's essentially like the Portal video game. At one point, it was actually in Jane Foster as the containment unit, and that was the little box that was handed over to the Collector for safekeeping, and he goes,
1 down, 5 to go.
Yeah, I really love that character.
The Collector?
Yes.
Yeah,
I suspect the Elders will be back in this one. At least the Collector for sure. Yeah. Whether he, because when the orb was opened up by him in the first Guardians and his ship got blown up, who knows if
a lot of stuff got loose.
Yeah, who knows if he actually still has the Aether? He's just the last one we knew who had it.
Yeah, and it almost felt like they were setting it up that he was going to be either the person gathering them for Thanos, or that he was going to be the spot that Thanos came and grabbed all the gems from, but it doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
Yeah.
No, it is certainly things have changed, and that is the challenge with planning as far ahead as Marvel has. Is a lot of the stuff it has to be retconned to make it fit.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of giving them enough outs depending on what reception is, and they've put this thing together pretty masterfully, where they can shift gears and 95% of people won't even notice if they move things in a slightly different direction to make it more palatable for a larger audience.
Or just make it to fit better into the story.
Yeah, because the reality is that Infinity War, based on even the first 2 trailers, is nothing like what the comic book series was like.
No, although
Civil War, really.
It's funny, like, people will come into the shop, who do you think's going to die in Infinity War? I'm like, I read the comic, everybody. He can control reality. About half of them might show up again, and then they'll defeat it, and somebody will get the gauntlet, revive everybody. We're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the Avengers in
comics
in the comic books, they were just the distraction. They were like literally the cannon fodder.
Yeah, the secret about Thanos is he's usually the key to his own undoing, his own hubris. It's like he's craving for power, but then once he has it, he's unable to quite use it. And I don't know. You'll see. I'm not sure how the movie's going to handle it, but I'm very, very much looking forward to it, to seeing how that all gets handled. Now, the first gem I think he's going to pick up is the Power Gem. And the Power Gem was originally introduced as the orb in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, that's that one.
Yeah, that's the one that Star-Lord drops at the beginning of the movie.
Drop it now!
Hey, cool, man. No problem. No problem at all.
How do you know about this?
I don't even know what that is. I'm just a junker, man. I was just checking stuff out.
You don't look like a junker. You're wearing Ravager garb.
It's just an outfit, man. Ninja Turtle, you better stop poking me.
What is your name?
My name is Peter Quill, okay? Dude, chill out.
Move!
Why?
Ronan may have questions for you.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
Who?
Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Guys,
move!
I like that one.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
Guardians was great.
They are great. And I mean, they definitely have always been kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Well, they always seem to be like the ones that were just the little odd one that they did sort of outside of everything.
Yeah.
Even though they're completely part of it.
Yeah. At the end of that movie, that Jem was left with the Nova Corps. So I suspect whatever chaos and probably the destruction of the Nova Corps, and hopefully that will lead to one of the helmets falling to Earth and introducing the Nova from the comic books, finally. But that would be cool. I'm assuming an origin's going to happen with this at some point within these two films, but I think that'll be the first one Thanos goes for, and that also will drive the Guardians to Earth as they realize what Thanos is doing.
Yeah,
they certainly have the biggest connection with him, right?
If possibly not Thor as well, because if Loki's still in possession of one... And that one being and maybe that was the gem he put in the staff, because they still had the cosmic cube within the halls of Odin's throne room there.
Yeah, one they haven't said for certain, but the after credit scene in Thor, I would suggest that the massive ship that the Asgardians run into would be Thanos' ship. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's what takes them to Earth, and also Thor.
That could be
hooks up with them right away. I can't remember if they actually showed that on screen.
We do see Thor hooking up with the Guardians.
With the Guardians in the trailer, yeah.
In the trailer, yeah.
There's kind of like a "Who are you" moment.
Yeah, the trailers and the post-credit scenes, which are really just trailers, are starting to blend together for me a little bit.
Oh yeah, like I couldn't tell you. That'd be actually a good game. Can you pick the post-credit sequence to the movie?
Okay, so our next stone is the Time Stone. That was the Eye of Agamotto.
Okay.
Which was pretty brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, boy, do they demonstrate how that works really well.
Yeah, and to just strip away all this lore and all this extraneous stuff that might be important to that character in the comic books, but for the purpose of telling the story that you're telling within the movies. I thought making the Eye of Agamotto the Time Stone, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that was brilliant, and not at the same time, because you are stripping some stories away from Doctor Strange, where you could have had something very artifact-driven, but at the same time, that's fine. It's not like I needed to know who Agamotto is and all of that stuff. Yeah, he found a gem and put it in this nice necklace.
Yeah. Well, and who's to say that we're going to get Doctor Strange sequels? There's rumbling that he's the guy that dies.
Right.
So, maybe.
I mean, it's possible. I guess it depends on what the contracts look like.
Yeah.
But like I said,
right?
Who do I think is going to die? Everybody.
Yeah. And then when the contracts are signed, then you'll see some people coming back.
Yeah. It's comics.
I suspect he was assigned to at least a 3-picture deal. So.
Yeah, but 3 pictures would be Doctor Strange, Infinity War, and Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Well, and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's got 2 already.
He's already... that could be 4 movies right there. That's in quick succession.
Yeah, I hope not, because I
hope not too. I mean, I'd like to at least get 2 or 3 Doctor Strange specific movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
It certainly would be nice. But at the same time, when you have an actor like Cumberbatch who is high in demand for other roles, unlike most of the other casts, where this is sort of their bread and butter.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got lots of stuff.
Yeah, where Chris Evans is. I mean, he was a working actor, but he never really broke out until Captain America.
Oh, he'd done a shit ton of comic book movies at that point. He's Mr. Comic Book.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. One of my favorite comic book movies, The Losers. My favorite part of that movie, too.
Snowpiercer.
He is good.
Yeah, Scott
Snowpiercer,
Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, and
Fantastic
Four twice.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe that's why you can see why he probably is like, I can't do another comic book movie. I have to get out of this.
Well, he's literally on Broadway right now. Like, he can't do the press tour for Infinity War because he's doing Broadway.
How convenient of you, Chris.
Yeah. What a great way to avoid any uncomfortable questions.
And he has an amazing mustache.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I could go with it.
Yeah,
you might want to see it first.
Yeah, it's gonna.
It depends. If it's tiny and thin, no.
Yeah, and really, I don't want to speculate because the more I speculate, the more likely I am to be disappointed by what I see. And I think that's the biggest challenge with these movies lately is you start speculating and you get so to the point where you want something to happen so bad, and when it doesn't, or when there's something you don't want to happen so bad and it does, you're like, I am so disappointed right now.
Well, and to your point, an observation as a guy that has been looking at the embrace of the Marvel movies and some of the criticisms with the DC movies and stuff, a lot of what DC gets hit with, and granted they make some terrible artistic choices with where they take their characters, but a lot of it comes from people's expectations from what they know with the Nolan movies and with the Justice League TV series and things of that nature, whereas Marvel's had a bit of a blank slate where people hadn't had exposure to the characters that they introduced the MCU with. People love the MCU so much, they're like, yeah, we'll go on this ride and give us whatever you want kind of thing.
Well, DC was trying to copy-paste. They're like, well, let's use some other boxes as our version of the Infinity Stones and throw Darkseid into that spot.
Yeah.
No, that's not what you guys should be doing. You haven't even introduced your characters yet. I think maybe this plan to start just moving away and doing some good standalones within the continuity and without the continuity, that might be a better way to go at this point, because they've just so clumsily had such a bad start.
They're trying to push stuff into a storyline too early.
Yeah, and in fact, most of these other unified universes, I think the Hasbro one ended before it started.
Yeah.
And I think
Dark Universe.
Dark Universe. I think they've abandoned that now, and we talked a bit about that in our Creature from the Black Lagoon episode, and that was a wise choice because they completely misstepped that whole thing as well. I mean, it was insultingly bad.
See, and that's the thing about is you have choices, right? And you can be true to the source material and do that really well, or you can deviate from it and do that really well, but you can't half-ass do either.
Well,
right?
I mean,
and that's kind of what happened with DCU and Dark Universe.
Yeah, well, they need somebody like Kevin Feige who's a big fan of the material, for one. So he's got this big vision of how it all works, and he understands it as a fan as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's being protective of those properties.
And he's a movie guy,
and he's smart. He's smart enough to know is like that'll work on film, that won't. So we're gonna have to change that bit, but we're gonna keep the core story, the essential core story, the same.
But where I was going with that is that Infinity War, will be, to your point, Sam, the first time that Marvel will have expectations on them, because people are expecting who dies and are expecting does Thanos snap his fingers and everything fades to white kind of thing, and people are familiar with this story, right? Like, if you don't have the scene of Captain America facing down Thanos as the last man standing, people are going to be disappointed.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I find the only way that I can truly enjoy these movies is to have no expectations going into them. Go and expect a fun ride and expect nothing more than that, because other than that, you're going to be disappointed.
So, what if Avengers Infinity War, or whatever the sequel might be called, Captain America dies and turns out to be a Skrull?
I don't think that'll go over well with the general audience. I think you'll be in the DC spot with BVS. It's like the majority of people will be alienated, but a small core group of hardcore comic fans
cool
will be like, this is the greatest thing ever, and you didn't read the comics.
And I'd be the person who'd be like, ugh.
You'd have to figure out where the good spot is to replace him. Like, he died in World War II and was never resurrected.
Can you imagine?
That might not go over so well.
No.
Well, Marvel did that with their comics with Spider-Man, right?
And could we see a return? I mean, we've seen the destructive power of certain gems, like the power gem if you're not strong enough, will obliterate you.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of these need containment. But in the Red Skull's case, he was sucked right into the cosmic cubes. So could we see a return of maybe the Red Skull and other villains within the body of this movie?
Well, I hope so. You're not going to see Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull again. He's already said he would not be doing it again.
That's unfortunate because he was so good, but yeah, it's a Red Skull recast. I mean, you did it with Bruce Banner, so
yeah. Or they could also
you did it with War Machine. As
They
well.
could take it other directions too, where his consciousness is something that speaks to a daughter or something of that nature, where he informs maybe a female version of the Red Skull.
Oh, that'd be Sin.
Yeah.
That'd be Sin. Or you can have the Red Skull take over the mind and body of Captain America. That also happened at one point.
Yeah.
Wow.
We know how well that went over with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and let's face it, they've killed Captain America in continuity more than once.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that he's going to bite the dust in this one, but it's not a spoiler. We haven't seen it.
Yes.
It is sheer conjecture on our part.
Yeah, and I for one will be saddened if it indeed does happen, because Chris Evans has been a phenomenal Captain America. He's captured the spirit of that character so well.
At the same time, though, there's something to be said for going out on top.
Well, there's that too, right?
I think it would be kind of amazing if he does die as like the last man standing against Thanos. Like, I don't know. I'd hate to see him go, but at the same time, how long can you keep doing this for?
Well, and that's the thing. I said I'd be saddened. I didn't say I'd be disappointed. There's two different things.
And there's a big division within the heroes right now because of Civil War, and the death of somebody like Captain America would reunify these characters, and that's something that's going to need to happen if they're going to take down Thanos.
Because I don't know, just as in the terms of the movie, watching the characters, like even being on the other side of the fight with Captain America, there's still this very close connection between these characters. Like, it wasn't, they still loved him a lot. So,
I mean, it's a really big story. So, like, when we get through and past Avengers 2, which means we've got an Ant-Man movie and a Captain Marvel movie before we move into Phase 4, where do we go from here?
And that's the biggest thing is like, you have literally blown two of your biggest wads with Civil War and Infinity War. Right? What's next? Do you move into the Captain America as a Hydra agent stories?
And maybe you could do something a little like smaller ones that are done within a wave. So you hit your climax by the end of the wave, so you could maybe do Secret Invasion.
And Secret Wars,
And Secret Invasion might be a good way to bring in at least the Fantastic Four, and then you could build to Galactus.
Yes.
The World Eater, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah, like I'm assuming that Fox deal is going to go through, so that would be where you take things, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, that's a 2-year deal. We're probably about 1 year away from it closing minimum at the moment, but you can bet Marvel's already
early, though.
Yeah, Marvel's already planning. And in the case of the X-Men themselves, there's such a robust universe that's already been established by Fox. Do you keep them separate? Or do you start from scratch and reintroduce them into the Marvel Universe?
I think you do both of those. I think you keep them separate, but you start from scratch.
I think starting from scratch is probably what they'll probably wind up doing. I mean, there's certain actors that won't come back. I think the only person you keep cast the same is Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, because goddamn, just him recognizing that continuity has changed would just be totally in character with him.
Yes, it totally would be, yes.
So...
And he would be the audience proxy where it's like, can you believe this happened?
Yeah, and let's face it, I mean, can you see anybody else playing Deadpool? No.
If they're going to hold anybody over for that, I mean, I think it's highly unlikely you're getting Hugh Jackman back for Wolverine. Maybe Old Man Logan, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's aged.
Yeah, at this point, if you want, and having Wolverine in the Marvel Universe is kind of key, so you kind of have to recast at this point. He's just getting too old to.
And he doesn't want to do it anymore.
I don't blame him. I don't want to work out that hard either.
No. And I mean, the last one seemed like a really good place.
Well, he said that was going to be his last appearance as Wolverine. He was committed to that.
And again, it goes to my point with Chris Evans. Just go out on top. Like, they're not going to put out a better Wolverine movie than Logan.
Yeah.
Like, Logan worked as an excellent movie, period, full stop. And then as a comic book movie was just a bonus kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Fox should do that. Just have some fun, go out on top, and make some good final movies. We still have New Mutants and X-Force coming on the slate, and possibly and probably the Phoenix War as well.
Well, yeah,
Phoenix Saga.
I guess there was a shareholders meeting or something to that effect, and they said Dark Phoenix will be their last X-Men movie.
Okay, so X-Force might not happen now.
Yeah, X-Force, I doubt that
that one's the one so far away that it could feasibly fall victim.
Be the first Marvel movie, maybe?
And I think New Mutants will end up being like a parting gift to Netflix, or a movie that they dump on their streaming service when they get that.
I think it'll get theatrical release next year. I mean, it's done. They're just doing massive reshoots to rejigger that to make it scarier, but I think it's going to be a done-in-one horror movie.
Yeah.
But that also lies in question, where do the TV series stuff lie, like Legion and Gifted?
Yeah, and those are both fairly successful shows. And then the Netflix shows, I can't see Disney leaving.
I mean, if they happen out of continuity, that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess nobody would.
And I can't see Disney leaving Netflix with their characters when they're having their own in-house streaming service, right? So
yeah, they might leave the ones that are established at Netflix, but after that, I think anything new will probably happen on the Disney streaming service.
Yeah,
most likely. Yeah, and I was wondering about that when I heard they were going to do their own streaming service.
I mean, they could feasibly cap the Defenders universe of stuff, so whenever they're ready to launch their service, maybe those will move over there, or they'll just end the Defenders thing and move into something else.
Yeah, and I don't know that the Defenders universe is as hot and lucrative as it was. Like, I don't know a single person that's watched Jessica Jones season 2 all the way through.
You do.
Yeah, two of us.
Mm-hmm. 2 of you? Okay, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and actually, I thought it was far stronger than the first season.
I don't know if I'd agree with you there, but I still really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as season 1, but I also think they didn't waste as many episodes as season 1.
No, the character developed a lot.
I was a little on the fence on season 2, but I thought it was still a pretty strong season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just haven't got to it yet, and it's one of those after the 1-2 punch of Iron Fist and the Defenders. I'm like, I don't know how much of a rush I am to
that's part of why I didn't get to Black Panther. I'm so used to them now that I have trouble getting excited for them. But gotta say, I'm pretty excited for Infinity War, and after our audience listens to this trailer, I think they will be too.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
One advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow.
Still exist. Perfectly balanced. As all things should be. I hope they remember you.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh,
using your made-up names, then I am Spider-Man.
Yeah, Jay's squealing.
Mainly because of the Thanos stuff. Like, god damn, that was so well cast, and his voice is perfect.
It's funny. I mean, this is like Josh Brolin is just nailing it this year. 2 key roles in Marvel movies.
It's nice to know when he takes a bad one, it doesn't seem to hurt him, because, I'll do Jonah Hex, and then right after that, it's like No Country for Old Men or something. I'm like...
The Old Boy remake.
Yeah.
Which didn't do very well, but he was so good in that.
Yeah. So usually, even if he's in a bad movie, he's good in it.
Yes.
So I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he gets to play Cable this year too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's Josh Brolin here, because this summer he's got Avengers, Deadpool, and then Sicario 2.
Oh yes, that too.
Wow.
Shit. That's definitely a big year. That's going to up his status quite a bit.
It's the Brolin-verse.
He's fitting.
Brolin shared universe.
For a guy who kind
Lots of comic book movies now.
Yeah. Well, for a guy who disappeared for a long time after Goonies, like he was hardly in anything. He just just sort of faded into the woodwork and didn't. And then all of a sudden he did W, and all of a sudden he is the guy for a lot of these roles. Mm-hmm. But people still don't even know who he is. It's kind of interesting that this guy's working so hard, and a lot of people sort of like, I wonder, they don't recognize his pedigree as an actor either.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. Go back to watch Goonies again, and it seems like when I'm watching him in Goonies, that role is too young for him. I think he needed to age into who he was.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can totally see that. Yeah,
right. It's been so long since I've seen Goonies. I don't even know anymore.
Well, I get to revisit all these ones, introducing them to our kids. So I saw it not terribly long ago. Still holds up. Still great.
It does still hold up. I saw it not that long ago, and it still does hold up.
Yeah, and just mentioning the name, I've got Cyndi Lauper going through my head right now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Okay. I love that song.
Are there any Marvel characters not currently in the Marvel ECU that you'd like to see?
She-Hulk. I'd love to see the She-Hulk in there.
Yeah, and you know what? I was just sitting here looking around thinking...
looking around my basement.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking for...
What a perfect way to do a Hulk solo movie would be to have the birth of the She-Hulk kind of thing. I know that Hulk solo movies are kind of tied up in licensing stuff with Universal, but actually she might be the perfect way to work around that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and then, really, she's the one that I can think of, because again, I'm kind of out of touch with the superhero comic universe. I'm more into the supernatural stuff like Hellblazer and Shade and all that stuff, but I think
the one thing they haven't done very well is building villains. So unfortunately, a team like the Thunderbolts, but would be kind of cool. But at the same time, I guess that's just Marvel's version of Suicide Squad. So
it is. I mean, there's that group of the supervillain group that Captain America has gone up against quite a number of times. The
Masters of Evil.
Masters of Evil.
Oh, the Serpent Society.
Yeah, Serpent Society.
That's how they teased us with Civil War. They initially announced it as the Serpent Society, and they're like, "No, that's not." No, I don't think so.
Which is too bad, because I think they'd be a lot of fun.
I think so too. I was like, "Ooh, Serpent Society!" I always loved those issues.
Yeah, I mean, as did I. Again, with being Captain America being my sort of go-to Marvel book.
But it does sound kind of camp when you say it out loud.
It does. I'd like to see. Oh, what the heck is his name? Again, more Hulk properties. I keep going to them. The Doc. What's his name?
Oh, Doc Samson.
Yeah, Doc Samson. Yeah, I was going to say Doc Savage, and I knew that wasn't it.
But that's essentially who he is.
Yes, but I still like to see him, right? Because he's another ancillary character who should stand alone in his own right anyhow.
Well, the expansion of the Spider-Man universe kind of begs to what that Sony deal looks like, and whether something like Venom, also coming out this year, will be part of the MCU or not. I think people have a lot of questions as to where some of these other Sony-made films
fit into the big picture. And then there's lots of Captain America characters like Nomad, who is essentially Bucky, was essentially the Winter Soldier. I mean, you really think about how many roles he's played in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I think they'll skip by Nomad. Nobody gave a shit about Nomad.
To be honest, I think Nomad is in this movie.
Really?
I think Captain America's version of Nomad
Oh, I see.
is
what
the
you're
Captain
saying.
America that we see, right? Because
Right.
he's lost his star on his uniform. He's got the big beard, and he's kind of got that man without a country thing going.
Oh, maybe going around as Patriot or something.
Yeah, and then Bucky is going to be your White Wolf. They certainly paint a picture of that.
Want more Bucky? Liked Bucky.
I mean, it's so hard, like, because there's so many characters in the Marvel universe, and so many are tied up in other properties.
Yeah. I mean, I think about just Avengers that I think are classic Avengers. Wonder Man and Black Knight. Like, they're
there's a
classic
whole,
Avengers
and then
to
there's
me.
all the Canadian guys, too.
And the idea that, oh my god, the classic buddy cop superhero movie that could be made out of Wonder Man and the Beast. Because in comics, they were such a great duo.
Yeah.
So if you could recreate that duo on screen, that would be such a cool buddy cop movie we haven't seen in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and then of course you've got characters like Cloak and Dagger. I'm pretty sure they're Marvel still, aren't they?
They're getting a TV series.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's coming up soon.
Dazzler. I mean, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Dazzler would be part of that Fox deal coming.
Yeah,
so.
she'd be grouped into the X-Men deal.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is knowing who's not tied up in this licensing nightmare thing.
To be honest, I think within 2 years they'll have almost all the toys, except for the ones that are on Sony's umbrella.
Mm-hmm. I think the
with
Submariner's
Spider-Man.
still tied up into a lot of red tape too.
Yeah,
like.
But
Submariner-
with Aquaman getting his own movie, I'm not sure if Marvel's going to have a lot of interest in doing that.
Yeah.
No, they don't want. They don't want to do something that's already been.
They
done.
don't want the competition
Like, I think they
in
have
that area.
Submariner, but the distribution rights are with Universal, kind of like with the Hulk.
Yeah.
So, like, if Disney wanted to do it, it's just a matter of giving up a piece of the pie, right, and allowing Universal to collect on that. And quite frankly, by the time they have the FF and the Avengers and the X-Men, I don't know that they'll even
Be
want to
interested in-
bother
yeah.
with.
I
That
mean, there's
stuff.
with Doctor Strange now. There's a lot of opportunity to expand the mystical side of the Marvel universe now, because that's all that is right now is right there. There's 2 botched Ghost Rider movies, but there's a new Ghost Rider on S.H.I.E.L.D., so that's a possibility there. And reintroducing Blade, which was a huge franchise for New Line at the time.
It was a huge franchise for them.
I mean,
we can go back to Ryan Reynolds and his appearance in comic book movies, because he's done a fair number himself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It was Hannibal King in the third one, right?
Green Lantern.
Oh yeah. Ryan's had his few kicks at the cat.
Yeah, but he's certainly had his most success with the Deadpool ones. And I mean, there's all the Canadian superheroes from Marvel as well. I mean,
Alpha Flight.
Yeah, I'd love to see them. And
Again, I think they're grouped into the X-Men.
of course they are, because Wolverine ties into them at some point there, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a point there. Wasn't he a member of Alpha Flight for a while there?
Yeah, I don't know how Alpha Flight would do abroad, but us Canadians would be really happy.
absolutely.
We're a huge movie going on.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
To be honest, it'd be a cool way to relaunch Wolverine as a solo character.
Yeah.
If you did, if I was Kevin Feige, I would love to be able to introduce the X-Men via that original core group of X-Men. So Scott, Jean, Hank, Bobby, and Warren, and do that, and then follow that up with a Wolverine and Alpha Flight movie, and then for your third movie, have it the all new, all different X-Men teaming up with the characters that, if you keep the Deadpool universe, so be it. I kind of don't think they will, if I'm being honest. But
I think he'll remember it, but yeah, I think they're going to start from scratch. I don't see Marvel being able to move forward with the way it is, but
To be honest, they've kind of made a jumbled mess of it.
Yeah.
And then
there's a nice long continuity there with Fox that I'm like, okay, that was theirs, and now we can start fresh.
Yeah, we can start with that. And then what about the UK Avengers? There's a
Captain Britain.
Yeah,
Excalibur.
There's so
would be
much.
cool.
Yeah, there's so much happening there too. So there's a lot for them to draw on still.
Yeah.
How successful they'll be to a North American audience, time will tell, I guess.
yeah, but at the same time, like with Black Panther, they lean into the trappings of his solo character lore way more than like the fact that he's an Avenger is almost an afterthought.
Yeah. Well,
and you look at the embrace for that. So I think you can do anything as long as you do it well and serves.
And they've proven time and time again that they can.
And to be fair, at the same time, when you're talking about like how they'll be embraced by North American audiences, when you're talking movies nowadays, that's just a small piece.
Yeah. It really is, but
I just realized Black Widow's hair is blonde in this one. Maybe she's a Skrull.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Jay, are you a Skrull? Do you really want...
I think Jay just wants to be a Skrull.
Jay wants to be a Skrull.
No, I just want Skrulls. They were. That's what Whedon wanted for the first Avengers movie, but because the legalities were tied up with possibly being a Fox property with the Fantastic Four purchase, that's why they created the Chitauri.
Yeah, I had this feeling that they were supposed to be Skrulls when I was watching, even though I didn't know for sure. It just seemed too convenient that it was an alien invasion right on.
And well, with him doing the Kree on this season of S.H.I.E.L.D., I suspect he might be heading that way. It might get his Skrulls yet.
Here's hoping, because
I wonder if he'll come back to do anything with them.
I don't know. Whedon seems to be.
I think he might have shut a door when he left, because he said there's some things that he said in the press that may have shut that door for him.
Well, and walking over to DC to do work for them, I think probably didn't put him in
the lock on that door.
But I mean, he's still working for them. He's still the showrunner for S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, it's not like that door is shut. He still works for Disney, so that door might open again. But he's in such a weird place where he's given us such awesome, strong female characters, and suddenly now he's a fake feminist. I don't understand what's going on with Whedon and why the fan base has been turning on him as of late.
Yeah, there's
I think it's unwarranted. I think it's garbage.
It's a whole thing, because here's the deal: it's you can meet guys who are like just so progressive, think about how they behave is the antithesis of it. It's weird. It's stuff everybody does every day where you have to bring stuff into your own narrative, and you may act contrary to what you think you believe.
I still think he's the right guy to bring into something like Batgirl, and it's a shame he won't be doing it. But, Whedon, if anything, that frees him up to do his thing. I'd love to see him just, whatever his next thing he creates out of his head. He's good at that.
And I think that's where he's at. His fan base really turned on him, like Trish said, and I think maybe there was a bit of a betrayal when all that stuff about his ex came out. Not that it was terrible, but at the same time, it, like you said, ran contrary to the persona that he had put forth.
And and the thing is, not even just persona. Like, it's sort of, you can meet people and they think they are one thing, but their behavior is different.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, actions are louder than words, and that's just what has to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I know so many people who say like they strongly believe they're like a good person, and they're not. or I'm like a good Christian. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, people do this all the time.
Yeah.
So to be surprised by it surprises me.
No, that's fair.
Well, I don't know. I think Whedon will get his crack at some other comic book property down the road.
And
might not be Marvel or DC. But
being part of a big machine, I don't think suits him.
No, he's never really played well with others. We've seen how that's collapsed time and time again with him. All the shit that went on with Firefly and then Serenity, and even the first Buffy fiasco.
Yeah.
So,
and even Dollhouse.
Yeah, Dollhouse.
He doesn't seem to work in that very well in that narrative, and some guys don't.
He needs to be free to do what he needs to do in order to tell the story.
Edgar Wright's another one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, just go and tell your own stories, and I think you'll find success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like, keep to your own vision. Like, I think when you talk like Spielberg and like Jaws, he was having trouble with that. Like, I think there's a certain point where some of these guys that we think about, like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, they had to get big enough where they could play on their own, and nobody could get in their way. And then that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, these two guys, they don't play well with others, and we think about it because they're still not to the point where they don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Whedon certainly should be at the point where he should have creative control.
He's just got to play the politics
Marvel
long enough to
gave
get
him
there.
that choice. They gave him that opportunity. And I think they gave him pretty free reign.
Yeah, and I don't think that door will ever be fully closed on him because, like I said, he's showrunning for S.H.I.E.L.D., and he made them $1 billion.
Yeah.
More than once.
and kind of with, like, people criticize Marvel for being too formulaic but the thing that I give them credit for is they know who their audience is, and they know what their property is, and they're protective of their IPs, and I can't fault them for, telling Joss yeah, that's cool, you want to do this stuff with Hawkeye's family, or you want to do this, or you want to do that, and saying, no, that's not the story we're telling, and that's fine. And I think that's part of the growing pains with what they're doing with their universe is...
Yeah, Hawkeye doesn't show up in that trailer, by the way.
I was wondering about that. I kept looking.
And maybe he is just off being the family man, or maybe he'll be brought in as the underdog in the second film as everybody's been wiped out.
Yeah.
Well,
that'd be quite the story.
I know he did like a photo shoot for Vanity Fair, I think, the first time they showed all the Avenger characters. And that's the only place that he's been in any kind of publicity material for this movie. So
makes me think they got something up their sleeve with him.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so, because he's one of those characters who isn't used all that well in the movies. Like he's there almost like as a foil for Black Widow.
Yeah, but I like their chemistry. Like,
it's
that's
phenomenal.
Really good.
It's excellent.
And wasn't it in Civil War where he comes in like very deep into the movie to get Scarlet Witch out? And I kind of like that because I'm like, what's happening with Hawk? Like in my head at that point in the movie, I'm like, what's happening with
him?
him?
He's the rescue guy. Yeah. So feasibly, let's say everything goes to shit for the main heroes, the most powerful ones, and Thanos wipes them out of reality or something. Who's left, right? Like the speck of dust that he's not going to notice, the guy who's got no powers, only little sharp arrows.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not something, so he can be gathering up a new set of heroes to take this guy out.
Every time we see him, I just feel that Hawkeye's just doing this I guess I gotta go.
I mean, there feasibly he could wind up being the savior of everything in this movie.
In preparation for today, I watched a couple of the most recent Avengers movies with Avengers, Age of Ultron and Civil War, because that's an Avengers movie for the most part.
Oh yeah, Civil War is more Avengers 2.5 than Captain America 3.
Yes, sure. That's exactly it. But in both those movies, Hawkeye is an anchor for at least one character, or he's the voice of reason for at least one character. And in Civil War, he actually is the voice of reason for a few times. And there's some great dialogue between him and Natasha when they first fight out on that airplane field. We're still friends, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on how hard you hit me.
Yeah.
And also the thing, like when he comes to get Scarlet Witch, like the chemistry between them, where he's like, I'm here for her. And he's like, Vision, just get out of my way.
Oh, his speech in Age of Ultron to Scarlet Witch is awesome. That's one of the better moments
in all of the films.
Avengers. Yeah, absolutely.
You actually feel something there. It's more than just excitement about the action. You feel how important it is to him to be an Avenger and how much he respects the role he has.
I think he's like the Avenger psychologist. Like whenever somebody's having trouble, he's like, how do you feel about this?
and he is that point of vulnerability, right? Like you watch Age of Ultron and he's the one guy that at any given moment he's going to get taken out. And you kind of, he's always been if they're going to kill someone, I'll probably be Hawkeye, right? So
because he'd be the easiest to kill.
Yeah.
Right? And that speaks to Jason's thing, because he'd be the easiest, he'd be the most likely to be overlooked.
Yeah, Thanos would be like some dumb human. Well, Black Widow falls into that too, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
So
yeah, she's just got that marquee value to her that you never really get worried about her getting taken out, because it's like, wow, such a big star and such a high profile character,
and one of the few female characters in there now.
Yeah,
I mean, we're seeing more. We've got Scarlet Witch, and we'll see the Wasp in the Infinity Wars for sure.
I'm looking forward for that.
And Captain Marvel shortly after Infinity War, possibly in Infinity War, but I'm guessing her first appearance will probably be after.
Black Panther does a really good job placing a few characters to be high-profile female superheroes.
Milaje.
Yeah. So you have Okoye as the general of them, and then his sister Shuri.
Yeah. And Kobe Smolder's character is becoming very prominent in the Marvel Universe as well. And then there's also Peggy Carter's granddaughter, whose name I can't...
Yes.
She's also...
Sharon.
Sharon Carter. She's also starting to play a prominent role as well. Right?
And I don't think she's actually in this movie. If I'm not mistaken, the actress that plays her is on a TV show now, and I don't know that I've seen her name in any of the cast lists or anything like that. So.
Well, and again, because she's not superpowered. She's not a superpower, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that she will show up, but if she does, it'll be very
probably briefly, if anything.
Yeah.
With 76 characters, there's certainly a lot of room for a lot of people. Hopefully, Phil Coulson will make his return to the features, because seems like he got relegated to the dustbin once he went to television.
Yeah.
That's actually like one of my big questions here. Like, I know this is a two-parter, but when you talk like that many characters, like, I don't know, do you feel sometimes some of them will just get like too glossed over, or are there ones that you just want like more focus, or who do you think will be like major focus? Because you can't do focus on all
Well,
of
I
them.
mean, obviously the established ones will be
Yeah.
your main focus,
but any new ones?
I don't know. I mean, you've got the TV guys. Jesus, if you added up all the ones that have appeared on television via Netflix or ABC and what's coming, Runaways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it still doesn't add up to 76, so I
Yeah.
don't know what is going to be everybody who's ever appeared at any time ever.
Yeah. And they're showing a reluctance to cross over the Netflix stuff with the MCU stuff. Right?
So,
well, and a lot of that 76 might be when when they do the flashback origin stuff with him, right? So there'll be quote unquote
When they
name characters.
some of the Eternals or something.
Yeah.
So do you think, will some of it be like flashback when Thanos is gathering what he's previously gathered, or?
Yeah, like I know the last theatrical trailer, they actually had him and
walking with a little girl, which we assume is Gamora.
Yeah.
So. Possibly Nebula, but it's probably Gamora.
Yeah, I think she was green, so.
Yeah, so...
Oh, well, then
probably,
that's,
Yeah, so we're going to probably learn more about Thanos and how he relates to some of these characters already, particularly Gamora, Nebula, and Drax, who are centered around their hatred of Thanos.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of that's going to be explored. I'm sure the first movie is going to be very much Thanos' movie, and the superheroes are going to be secondary next to that.
Yeah, the second movie will be the good guys strike back, so to speak.
Exactly. It's I don't think it's going to go very well for our heroes this go around.
And that's the thing that's always tough with these big epic 2-part event movies, is knowing full well that you are not going to have closure at the end of this first movie.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I know the Russos said that it's not a hard cliffhanger, that there is a definitive end to this movie.
Whether it's a end on a happy or
whether it's an up or a down.
Right. And that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be a closure, it'd be a cliffhanger, but there's definitely not going to be closure.
No, but at this point, now they're going in such a direction where most of these movies stood alone until Civil War, and now certain ones are becoming required viewing. Mm-hmm. So as continuity becomes more and more reliant on itself, I don't know if that'll work for or against these movies or not.
Well, you asked the question before, like, where do they go? And I think they go smaller.
I think they will for a while to bring new characters into the fold as some of their big names are leaving and telling those stories. All right, well, who are your favorite Marvel characters not in movies and that you might want to see in a movie? Let us know. You can do that at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and invasiontheremake@gmail.com. Email us all about your Marvel movie wants or don't wants. Or, hey, if there are any comic book properties you want us to tackle that might not be a movie. We have talked about possibly casting a movie that's never been made before. Ooh. So I know Sam's chomping at the bit to do martial law.
I'd love to see that, and I know that it's been optioned a couple times and it's just never happened.
That's a difficult one to adapt for sure.
Yes, it is, but it would be so fucking cool.
So if you guys ever want to see that on an episode, let us know. Also, let us know how we're doing. Give us a quick rating and review over on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. 5-star rating would be awesome, and please leave a quick comment there as well, and tell your friends how to find the show. We are, of course, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Blueberry, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Audio Boom, Spreaker, and we're even on iHeartRadio now, and
frickin' YouTube.
So if you're not finding us, it's because you're avoiding us.
And we don't want that. We don't smell bad.
Yeah. So,
are you ghosting us?
So, tell your friends where to find us. If you're choosing to find us over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there and ding that bell for notifications when our episodes drop. The podcast drops every Tuesday on the podcast app and every Thursday on YouTube.
Yes, it does. So you're a little bit behind, but you still get it.
That's
and
right.
you, as I said last week, you want to listen quick just to make sure that you get it in, because sometimes those episodes do get taken down.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them, not the entire library is there, but we'll definitely keep them up for a few weeks before yanking them down if there are any problems.
Yeah.
I mean, and the ones that don't cause YouTube headaches, then they'll stay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's not a slight on YouTube in any means. They have rules they have to follow, and we have to follow those rules too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even though we fall in perfectly legal to use what
Absolutely.
we're using as commentary purposes, I get tired of fighting it once in a while. Every now and again, it's just like, there's one I'm going to be... I took down recently. It was like 6 complaints. I'm like, fuck them all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let them make money off our episodes. So.
No.
Because we aren't.
No.
Why should I let anybody else?
No.
So, support the shows and support other independent podcasts as well. You've heard trailers for several over the past few weeks. So go check out all of our friends who are doing other independent podcasts as well. You don't have to be part of a big conglomerate to find great podcasts.
No, and sometimes these small indie ones are better because they have the freedom to do whatever they want instead of what's the network is telling them they should be doing.
Exactly. That's why we get to say fuck, shit.
Yep.
All the fun words that you don't get to say otherwise. Although we don't do it all that often.
No. Actually, I think...
It depends on the day.
Yeah, it depends on the day. And
It also depends on the movie. If we are mad, that happens more often.
Yeah, it really does depend on the mood, doesn't it?
That's right. Well, that was The Road to Infinity War. We're looking forward to seeing this movie. Some of you probably already have, as you're listening to this episode right now. And we'll give our quick feedback on an upcoming episode once we've seen it. But it'll be back to our regular scheduled stuff. And until then, we're going to go enjoy the Calgary Expo. I've been Jason.
I'm always Sam.
I continue to be Trish.
And I'm Carlos.
And we are out of here.